But my idea was like, I'm going to make Nitro, NWO Nitro, and I'm going to make Thunder, WCW Thunder. And then a couple times a year, they'll compete against each other. And I thought Bret Hart would be great. He would be our lead babyface on Thunder. So that was the reason I brought Bret in. Around that same time, or shortly after I brought Bret in, a couple of things happened. One is, and I respect the out of Bret Hart, so take that to the bank, even though I'm going to say things that you all will probably think reflects disrespect. And it's not disrespect. It's an entirely different point of view, because I was running the company and he was the talent, and we were both looking at things from different perspectives. That's called life. When Bret Hart came into WCW on the tail end of the Montreal Screwjob, which to me didn't make a I could care less. In fact, Bret, before the Screwjob, Bret knew he was coming in. I knew he was coming in. We'd worked out our deal. I was in Wyoming with Lori and the kids, and I got a call from Bret, and he was all twisted up in a knot, saying, "Oh, Vince wants me to drop the belt before I leave." I said, "Well, drop the belt. You're not bringing it with you. It doesn't matter. You're Bret Hart. If you lose a professional wrestling match in a storyline, it's not going to take anything away from you being Bret Hart. Everybody understands. It is what it is. Don't worry about it." But in Bret's mind, it mattered a lot. And what put Bret over the top emotionally is Vince wanted Bret to drop the belt in Canada. And Bret didn't want to lose the belt in Montreal because he believed he was a Canadian hero. Bret didn't want to lose the belt in Montreal because he actually believed he was a Canadian hero. If that hasn't sunk in yet, I'm going to give you another 30 seconds. That's like the hero in a movie who's supposed to get shot and killed at the end of the movie going, "Well, I can't get shot and killed at the end of the movie because I'm a hero." No, mother, you're an actor. You're going to get shot at the end of the movie. And I'm going to pay you your money, and you're going to go on and you're going to do another movie. And the people that are watching the movie knows it's a movie. Not to Bret. It meant a lot to him. And then because of the way it went down, Bret was devastated. He was emotional. He was, when he first got to WCW, he was emotionally a little crippled over it. And it was like, fine, I get it. Actually, I didn't, but I could try to understand. I could give him his time. And then shortly after, Owen died. And it just put Bret into a funk. I'll take a lot of responsibility for not having a plan in place for Bret. But as I told you, I got a phone call out of nowhere. It's not like I sat around for 6 months going, "Oh my God, we're going to get Bret Hart. How are we going to use Bret Hart?" It was very fast. It came at me from out of the blue. It's not like I needed him or even wanted him, but it was an opportunity, and I thought, okay, I'm going to make the best out of that opportunity. But when Bret got to WCW, he wasn't the same Bret Hart that he was in WWE because of Montreal, which hurt him more than even to this day I can understand. And certainly I do understand what happened to Owen. I had to meet Bret at the airport the night that Owen died. Owen died on a Sunday at a pay-per-view. Bret was on his way into L.A. to do an episode of what was then the Jay Leno Tonight Show. I was in Los Angeles already to do the show with Bret, and I had found out. I was in my hotel room getting ready to go to the airport to pick up Bret that night, and I wasn't watching the pay-per-view because you couldn't get it in a hotel room, but I got a message that Owen had died, and I go, "Oh my gosh, I have to pick Bret up in 2 hours?" He's on an airplane. He may not even know. Somebody's got to tell him. So that was my job, to meet him at the airport and tell him that his brother had passed away hours beforehand. As it turns out, somebody figured out that Bret was on that plane, and Air Canada reached out and was able to contact the pilot on an airphone, and they were able to tell Bret while Bret was on the flight that his brother had been killed in the ring. So when Bret walked off the plane, I was waiting there for him. I thought, oh, great, I got to tell him. But he already knew. And Bret kind of withdrew, I would say, understandably. Anybody would. I would, for sure. I may not ever come out. I don't know that I could handle that. But Bret wasn't the same Bret Hart. So a lot of what didn't happen with Bret had a lot to do with me not having a plan. That's my responsibility, and I'll take responsibility for it. I'm not ashamed of it at all. Disappointed in myself, yes, but I'm not ashamed. But a fair amount had to do with Bret, because Bret didn't engage. And any talent in WWE, in WCW, in AEW, if you don't push yourself, no one's going to push you for you. You have to assert yourself. That's probably true in business. It's true in life. If you're not advocating for yourself in any job or any walk of life, chances are you're never going to really get where you want to be. If you're just sitting around waiting for somebody else to come up with a good idea for you. And because of the circumstances, that's where Bret was.
And I mean, this is just popped into my head, but when the Montreal Screwjob happened, Owen Hart wanted out of his deal with WWF, and Vince McMahon wouldn't let him out of the deal. If he had got out of the deal, would you have brought Owen Hart to WCW?
I don't know. It's a hypothetical. I would probably, because that was my nature, and I had the ability. We were making plenty of money. I was over-delivering on our budget. I was over-delivering on our forecast. Money wasn't an issue. And if I would have thought, or somebody could have convinced me that there was a story there and that the fan base would want to see that story, I would bet that I probably would have, but I don't know.